Good morning, Peterborough. My name is Jim Tubb, and it is time for your Sports Break broadcasted through the facilities here of Trent Radio on 92.7 C Triple FM here in Peterborough, Canada. This show can be streamed online, as you know, at trentradio.ca, or you can follow what we're talking about after the hours if you've missed a show on the wonderful website that is Twitter, and it can be found at Twitter at SportsBreakTR. The weather outside today is a bit chilly at -8. Sunny this morning. We're already getting into the hiccups and stuff, I guess. Bit of a wind chill at -13. Kind of a cool. It's gonna be a cool week here, you know. And this part isn't cool. It's the Trent Radio's last week before the Christmas break. Now you might be thinking, "Ooh, Christmas! That's not for a while. It's closer than you think." It's, today's the 4th, 21 days away. Shouldn't have had to do that math. Good thing I'm not in a math degree at all, but it's only 21 days away, and this is the last week before we come back. We return, make that almighty comeback like we do every year on December 7th. Or, sorry, not December 7th, January 7th. That'd be quite the short Christmas break, December 4th to December 7th, but good thing we don't have to do that. It is a nice day out, and it's going to be a nice week, as we said. It's going to be a cool week. It is still, as you always know, a beautiful day to talk about sports, ladies and gentlemen, and we have a busy show. If you tuned in to Sports Break live last week, you knew I wasn't talking about sports. I was doing a media studies project about country music. Now, I haven't posted that anywhere. I don't plan on it. But it was a nice change, and it was a nice thing to focus on something else other than sports, which I do a lot, if you know me well. And it was kind of nice. It's just refreshing, I'll be honest. But we missed a lot. And there's some stuff today there's no point in talking about because it's 2 weeks old. Todd McClellan fired in Edmonton. Not real much point talking about that. Ronnie Hextall got fired in Philadelphia. Again, not really much talking about it because it happened already. What do I think about it? It's kind of crazy. I just got to fix my mic here quick. There, I just turned it off. Didn't want you to hear. Didn't want to wreck your ears with fixing the mic. But with Tom McClellan fired, it's essentially Peter Chiarelli just going like, you know what? I'm going to use the last bullet I have and fire the head coach because I still want a job. And he's the last person I can fire before I get fired. And he hired Ken Hitchcock, and I just don't know how the Edmonton Oilers think that's a good idea to fire one of the best coaches in the league, in my opinion, and how the Edmonton Oilers can make the playoffs, go far in the playoffs with just firing Todd McClellan. Todd McClellan didn't sign Lucic to that long deal. He didn't trade Jordan Eberle, Taylor Hall. He didn't bring in these players that are good bottom six players, but should not be playing in the top six and should not be playing with Connor McDavid because it's almost kind of ruining Connor McDavid's career so far. Now he is signed to a 10-year deal. He's got lots of time to play, but it's still kind of wasting his time here. And we're talking about it. Here I am saying, oh, we're not going to talk about it, and we just spent a couple minutes on it. Let's get right into what's happening in the NHL. And if you've been watching the past couple of days, you know, or the season so far, you know the Pittsburgh Penguins, the back-to-back champions in 2015, 2016, not a big deal, haven't really started the season off well. They've already made one trade for trading Carl Hagelin to the LA Kings for Tanner Pearson, and they've made another trade. They've traded forward prospect Daniel Sprong to the Anaheim Ducks. I don't know why that took so long. In exchange for defenseman Marcus Pettersson. Peterson? It's got two T's. We'll go with Peterson. Oh, yeah. Pettersson's the great Vancouver rookie. But the 22-year-old Pettersson is averaging 14 minutes on ice for the Ducks. He's had 6 assists in 27 games, with 4 of those assists coming in the last 2 weeks. Whereas Sprong, who is 21, he's been in and out of the Penguins lineup this season. He has 4 assists in 16 games, and he had 65 points in 65 AHL games last year. He looked to be pretty decent, I'm going to be completely honest. It's kind of weird that the Penguins would trade away a prospect. I guess they really do want to win now. I think they're kind of scared of looking around the league, teams like Toronto, Tampa, Buffalo, Nashville, Winnipeg, all these young teams that are ready to win now and win for the next 4 or 5 years. And they're looking at their core of Crosby, Malkin, Letang, Kessel, who are a bit older. Then you look at Matt Murray, who hasn't really performed this season, injuries or not. And you wonder, we should maybe, if we don't win this year, there's going to be a lot of questions in Pittsburgh about whether they should retool, not a rebuild. I don't know how you rebuild a team with a guy like Sidney Crosby on it. You can't rebuild with the best player in the game. It just doesn't make any sense. You're just wasting his career years. But that's what they did. Peterson is set to become a restricted free agent this summer, while Sprong is in the first season of a 2-year, $1.5 million deal. It's just a trade, 1-for-1. It's kind of becoming a huge thing now. Other than in Arizona and the Blackhawks, it's kind of a funny thing. I think Steve Dangle on Twitter pointed out that if you don't follow him, he does reactions to Leaf games as a podcast with Adam Wilde from Kiss 92.5. Great show. This is not an ad. But he kind of pointed out that everyone wants to help the Blackhawks, it seems. Whereas once the Blackhawks get in trouble, oh man, we got to help them. And Arizona looks like they did. They traded Dylan Strome and Brandon Perlini to the Blackhawks for I should really know who this is. Nick Schmaltz. Nick Schmaltz. Heading back to Arizona. NHL ready, fast guy who can score for two younger guys at least, that haven't really performed this year. Who wins that? I don't know. I always loved Dylan Strome. He was really good in the World Juniors. Played really great with Connor McDavid. I guess who wouldn't play great with Connor McDavid? He's one of the best in the game. And it just kind of shows that if you're a prospect now, you don't get a lot of time to develop. You don't get as much time as you used to develop. You now kind of have to, especially if you're picked in the first round, you have to be able to play in the NHL that season, or you should. If not that season, the next one. And if you don't, it's kind of questionable. And your team maybe doesn't want to sign you anymore. There's a lot of guys. Daniel Sprong's a perfect example. Dylan Strome. All of these guys where they just don't perform right away. So they ship them out and let another team try to take on their the project and work on them. Anthony Duclair, Max Domi, another couple who have had to restart their career at a young age because they just didn't perform as they were expected to. I shouldn't say as they were expected to be these top scorers, that they're not. So they play either a more physical role or they change their game. The one thing against Dylan Strome is, and always has been, his skating. He looks like he never took power skating as a kid. And he's got a great IQ, great shot, everything. Great eyes, great hands. I don't know why I'm trying to pump his tires here. He's an NHL player, but he just doesn't have the foot speed. So maybe the Blackhawks can work on that. Put him on a line with Patty Kane or Alex DeBrincat. Let him rework those Erie Otter magic that he had there. And just try to get a career started, It's just the NHL career isn't long enough anymore. You don't get as many games as you used to see people play 4, 5, 6 years. It's starting to come down where people average 1, 2, 3. And you got to perform in those couple years, get a contract where you can make some money. And if you can see here, every conversation is segue into a conversation about William Nylander. We'll get to William Nylander. In case you didn't know, he did sign this past weekend on Saturday at literally 4:55 p.m. 4:55 for 6 years at a 6.9 AAV average annual value. Great for the Leafs. We'll talk about it in a bit. But still around the league, the common theme is drink your milk. I've been saying it since the start of the NHL season. Nobody's been listening. Everybody's getting hurt. And one injury that was kind of tough to see was Jets defenseman Dustin Byfuglien. It was when they were playing the Pittsburgh Penguins 4 days ago, Friday night, I believe. Him and Jamie Oleksiak, two very big guys, two of the biggest guys in the NHL, literally, like I'm not making that up. They're ranked 1 and 2 in weight class, collided or hit each other. And Bufflin went down, Alexiak didn't. And when Bufflin got up, he did not look good at all. He looked like somebody punched him in the face, and he got K. He looked like he took a Mike Tyson uppercut. And just was dazed. He had to be helped onto the bench, taken into the dark room, and then he returned, which is absurd because a hit like that, when he looked like that and just looked not good, like he had a concussion. The concussion protocol pulled him out of the game, put him in the dark room, but he was able to come back. And they have concussion spotters in every arena, and they are private people. There are people that have never played hockey. They're just kind of professionals about head injuries, and they do their job, but they don't. I don't understand what they do. I understand what they do, sorry. Let me rephrase that. I don't think they get it as much. I don't think they understand how easy a concussion can happen in hockey, whether they know a lot about head injuries or not, because it looks like they missed a pretty big one. He looked pretty dazed. I haven't seen that since Paul Kariya, when he got flattened at center ice by Scott Stevens, and people thought he died because he didn't move, and then all of a sudden you see that face of Paul Kariya, and you're just like, oh my god, this is crazy. And that's what I saw with Dustin Bufflin. Of course, he didn't lay on the ground. He got up, but there was no Dustin Bufflin in his eyes. He looked like somebody else, and he is on the injured reserve. Now, he didn't play last Thursday against the Blackhawks. Excuse me. Oh, I'm having a really bad time here on SportsBreak at the yawn, and I got to stop doing that. But hopefully Dustin Bufflin gets better. Concussions are very hard to come back from, especially when you play a tough physical game like Bufflin's. He likes to hit. Big guy kind of has to hit to stay in the league, and we hope him the very best. Predators forward Philip Forsberg is out 4 to 6 weeks with a reported hand injury. I always love how they get reported. Well, he's wearing a cast on his right hand, so I wonder what's wrong with him. Maybe it's his hand. I don't know. I don't want to jump to conclusions here, but yeah, it's tough for the Philip Forsberg. He hasn't had a lot of healthy seasons. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's a forgotten guy in Nashville, but I forget about him a lot. He doesn't really pop out to me as much as their defense core does, or Pekka Rinne, or Marcus Johansson. Those guys kind of pop out a lot. He did have 14 goals and 22 points in 26 games this season. And, of course, Nashville has been missing Victor Arvidsson, who's been out since November 10th with a broken thumb, PK Subban, who hasn't played since November 13th due to an upper body injury, and Kyle Turris, who was placed on the IR last Sunday with an undisclosed ailment. Kind of suspicious, but, can't really press the NHL teams for injuries. Not older, I don't know why I used that segue. Kings forward Ilya Kovalchuk is out 4 weeks following ankle surgery. The team announced past Sunday, 2 days ago, not like 2 weeks ago. The Russian Stars sit third in the team scoring with 14 points in 25 games. This, of course, is coming after he signed a 3-year, $18.75 million contract in the summer. However, Kovalchuk had seen his ice time reduced, and he had been benched multiple times this season if you've been watching the LA Kings games since they fired their head coach, John Stevens. Willy Desharnais has been kind of benching Kovalchuk as the mindset, I believe, of, well, we're not playing good, so we're going to bench our best player, which is absurd because they're a team that needs goal scoring, so why would you bench your best goal scorer? I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It doesn't make a lot of sense to a lot of hockey people, but Willy Desharnais is the coach. He's the one who gets to write the lineup card, so I guess he's the one that gets to make those decisions, not me. A couple nights ago, there was a reignition of the Detroit Red Wings and Colorado Avalanche rivalry. If you remember, those were two very big rivalries of the 90s. Lots of fights. Chris Osgood, Patrick Waugh. Nobody liked each other between Colorado and the Avalanche. Or Colorado and Detroit. They used to play in the same division before. I'm really sorry. This doesn't make for good audio or good radio at all. I'm going to try to fight through it a little more. Thanks for staying with us. But It was when they were in the same division before Detroit moved to the East. Forward Tyler Bertuzzi, not the son of Todd Bertuzzi. A lot of people get that mistaken. But Tyler Bertuzzi of the Detroit Red Wings. He was suspended 2 games on Monday for unsportsmanlike conduct and roughing on the Colorado Avalanche forward Matt Calvert. The incident occurred during Sunday's contest between the two clubs, where Bertuzzi grabbed Calvert's stick while sitting on the Red Wings bench and proceeded to punch him in the face. It was kind of like Calvert got hit into the bench, and Bertuzzi just started like feeding him the right hook. If you've ever seen like Just Out for a Rip, he just started feeding him the 1-2, you know, and just started trying to beat him up on the bench. Bertuzzi was on the bench, and Calvert was kind of hanging over it unfairly. And he kind of deserved to be punished, and it's kind of nice to see that he did get punished. The league kind of has been under scrutiny with their, they always have been under scrutiny for their suspensions, and if it's an actual worthy suspension or if they're not giving out suspensions at all. Nice to see they got this one. I think they got this one right. I think 2 games is enough. I think any more would have been a bit astronomical. I think they got it right. Good one. George Peros, good one on this. You did it right. Now, yesterday afternoon, the Canadian Hockey Federation, I think that's what it's called, announced the World Junior Training Camp selection roster for the 2019 World Juniors, which are not in Canada. They are in Russia? I just looked this up last night, and I should know this. But if you're going to talk about it on air, you should probably know what you're saying. Am I right? Nope, it's not even close to Russia. It's actually in Canada. That's right. It is in British Columbia, home of the 2010 Winter Olympics, where Crosby scored the golden goal. Not a big deal. Would kind of like that from the Canadian team again. Wouldn't hurt to see Canada win gold. Lots of great players on this Canadian roster. Michael DiPietro, the goaltending prospect for the Vancouver Canucks. Ian Scott, the goaltender prospect for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm just going through this, looking at names I know. If you want to look online, it's on tsn.ca, with the complete list here. Bob McKenzie and Gord Miller are going to spend the rest of their life on this. Not Gord Miller, Craig Button, and probably Gord Miller, but there'll be a lot of players on here. There was a couple NHL players not invited. Robert Thomas with St. Louis and Michael Rasmussen with Detroit. They have not been invited yet, and it's highly doubtful their NHL teams will loan them to Team Canada, but the options available up until the NHL roster freeze on December 19th. If you're not really familiar with that, younger players on NHL rosters can go to the World Juniors and play. We've seen it before with guys like Nady McKinnon played for a year. Florida Panthers never let Aaron Ekblad go. Jonathan Drouin never got to go. I'm not really... Sam Reinhart went before when he was with Buffalo. All of these players. It's kind of nice to see, but if you're an NHL GM, why risk having injury to your players at the World Juniors? You've already drafted them. There's no reason for them to showcase their talents. On the forward side, people know Owen Tippett with the Mississauga Steelheads. Florida Panthers prospect Nick Suzuki, the Montreal prospect, formerly known from Vegas. I guess I shouldn't, Maxime Comtois of the Drummondville QMJHL, and Cody Glass with Portland. I'm just saying names now. It doesn't really help anybody here, but it should be a good team for Canada. And, of course, everyone loves to watch the World Juniors because although the Olympics... Although the Olympics are really good, and I thoroughly enjoy the Olympics. I don't know who doesn't enjoy Olympics hockey. It's better with the NHL players, but it's also like with the NHL players, I find we've begun to expect Canada to win, and it's kind of a crappy expectation. I will always expect Canada to win if the NHL players play, but in Canada World Juniors, you kind of hope they're going to win. There's no real expectation there because the Americans are coming up and really getting really good. Sweden, Finland, Russia's always got the Russian gas going. They're not too bad. It's not a foregone conclusion that Canada's going to win like it is again with the NHL Olympics. Just great hockey. And of course, everyone's on Christmas vacation at the time, so you can watch it with your family and kind of enjoy our national pastime. Country that invented hockey, not a big deal. And just kind of enjoy it as a family and enjoy it as a country as a whole. The commercials around that time are amazing. Just talking about our young kids. And it always kind of helps NHL fans, I find at least, to understand and know these up-and-coming NHL players. I know it helped me. Like before, if I never watched it, I wouldn't have known who Sam Reinhart is. Curtis Lazar became a Canadian hero really quick. It really helped Jordan Eberle's career, John Tavares, all of these young guys that played in the World Juniors. Sidney Crosby played in the World Juniors. Everyone knows who he was, though. All of these people that played in the World Juniors, they're known before they're drafted or they're known before they've played an NHL game. And it just helps create more fans, which is the league is always trying to do, create more fans to sell more money. But as a fan, it just shows that it just shows that you care about your young kids, letting them go, and you just get to showcase the kids for everyone to watch and enjoy. It's one of my favorite times of hockey between NHL playoffs. The Olympics are okay. It's a lot of it's like an all-star game to me now, the Olympics. It's like I said, the World Juniors is one of my favorite. And one player that has played in the World Juniors a lot is a kid by the name, wears number 29 with the Toronto Maple Leafs now. His name is William Nylander. And if you've been following the show all season long, you know that we've been talking about William Nylander a lot. And he hasn't, and it's not good talk. It hasn't been good talk because he hasn't been playing. And you may be wondering, well, why have you been talking so much about this one player if he hasn't even been playing? Well, you see, Toronto Nation, Toronto sports fans are crazy. I'd say one of the craziest fans out there, craziest groups of fans out there, and have been obsessed over William Nylander and his contract negotiations with the Toronto Maple Leafs and that of GM Kyle Dubas. Instead of the great start to the season that the Leafs are having, I believe they're 12-6 now. I should really know this again, but everyone has been focusing on William Nylander and what he's going to get contract-wise. The Leafs are actually 19-8-0. Haven't had an OT loss yet. That's very interesting. But yes, 19-8-0. Of course, all without William Nylander, who, as I said on top of the hour, has signed a deal with a 6-year contract. Again, he signed it at 4:55 p.m. The deadline was 5 o'clock. Really kind of let it get down to the nitty-gritty here. Nylander and the Leafs did. It's kind of a weird contract because he signed it in the middle of the season. You don't see this a whole lot. Free agents. Again, unreal. I'll be better in the new year. I'll maybe get some more sleep or something. I don't know what this is. Haven't had this before. Yawning in the middle of the show probably makes for terrible audio. Those listening through headphones or something, you're just getting me yawning right in your ear canal. Never a great thing. But like I was saying, his contract is very wonky because he signed in the middle of the year. He missed the club's first 26 games. His cap hit will be $10.2 million for the remainder of this season, and then $6.9 million in years 2 through 6. Now you may be thinking, whoa, that's a little absurd. $10.2 million for the Leafs, who had, I believe it was close to $15 million in cap space. They're all right with this. They can live with this. Now they have $5 million in cap space. Still tons. You can do a lot with $5 million at the deadline. We'll see what kind of move Kyle Dubas makes. Lou Lamoriello always said to Babcock and the Leafs, show me that you're ready to compete, and I will help you with what I think you need. That meant Brian Boyle 2 years ago, and that meant, that meant Thomas Plekanec last year, who didn't really perform that well. But we're getting off topic here. Nylander is back for the Toronto Maple Leafs and he gets paid mostly through signing bonuses, which is very interesting. This season, like I was saying, he gets it's a $10 million cap hit, plus he gets a full $2 million signing bonus. And so that's a net number of, he actually gets paid this season $6.77 million, cap hit of 10. So this season he will make $8.77 million total, which gives you that $10.2 million cap hit. And then in year 2, the base salary is $700,000 with a signing bonus of $8.3 million. He's making all right money. And then in the remaining years, so that's year 3, 4, 5, 6, he will get 2.5 in base salary plus $3.5 million in signing bonus. Pretty good money, I would say, going to be completely honest. So right now, like I was saying, the Maple Leafs have a projected $5.2 million in cap space. They're doing pretty good right now. They're second and third second in the Eastern Conference, I believe. And just a great deal. I honestly don't know why this couldn't have been signed a little sooner. I know a lot of people have been saying that, like, really? We waited this long for the deal that had kind of been talked about all summer long, at the beginning of the season, all season long. And now we just have to wait till he plays. The Toronto Maple Leafs do play Buffalo tonight. I believe it is in Toronto, 7 o'clock on 7:30. Sorry, on your television stations, TSN, NBC Sports. If you're in America, looks like it'll be Freddie Anderson lining up against Linus Ullmark, with Buffalo playing Nashville last night. Buffalo again has kind of come down to earth since the start of their season, where they had the 10-game win streak. Should be a great game for the Leafs. Doesn't sound like William Nylander is going to play. He hasn't even practiced yet. He had yesterday he had a physical, and he did health test. But it sounds like it's going to be not quite a while. I should rephrase that. It sounds like it's going to be a couple games for William Nylander to make his way back into the Toronto Maple Leafs lineup, which I'd kind of predicted. I don't want to say predicted. I'm not an analyst. I'm just a kid. It sounds like it's going to be a bit before William Nylander gets back into the lineup here. Again, like I said, they play tonight against Buffalo, and then they play. I'm just sorry, I have to do quick math on air here. 2 days from now is Thursday. They play against Detroit, and then Saturday they play against Boston in Boston. Probably Hockey Night in Canada. I don't know if you give them those 3 games. The Leafs are on the road for their next 5 games. They're on the road tonight against Buffalo, and then Thursday they'll play Detroit in Toronto, and then they're on the road for their next 5 games, and then they're at home for 3 games. So the question is, do you play him on the road, start him on the road, or do you wait till you get back home? But he's missing then 7 more games on top of the 26 he's already missed. I say I don't throw him back in against Boston per se. I think that's a kind of, even though they're kind of decimated, they're still a decent team, and I don't want him to face them for the first game of his. Now, he is an NHL player. You can't baby him here. I would wait until Carolina on the 11th, which would be next Tuesday. Today's the 4th plus 7. Yeah, it's next Tuesday. I'm not this terrible at math, I promise. I would save him to then play against Carolina, a weaker team right now in the NHL. Get him in slowly, and then from there on, he plays every game. And I know a lot of people I know personally, and people in the sports world have said, just throw him in. And you can't really do that. He hasn't got up to game speed yet. I don't think that's really fair to a guy like William Nylander to just throw him in. It's just not good for the team either, because this guy hasn't played a game in a while. And then there's the question of who's he going to play with. The Leafs sent down Travis Dermott yesterday to make room for William Nylander on the team. Like, he's going to come back up for tonight's game. Mike Babcock has said that, so there'll have to be somebody cleared out there. Again, that news will probably break after the show is done, like it always does. Like with Todd McCullen's firing, it breaks about as I'm getting on the bus to leave Trent Radio. It's like, oh, cool, this news. Would have been cool to talk about on air, going to be completely honest. But there's the great line, you can't break up, of Marner, Tavares, Hyman. Matthews has been playing with Johnsson and Kapanen. Marlowe and Kapanen. And then it looks like it'll be Hampus Lindholm with Tyler Ennis and probably Johnsson now. And then there's Kadri. I'm doing this in my head. It's not really working. I think you got to put him with Matthews. That's kind of who he's always played with. I would do Nylander, Matthews, Kapanen. It's just a fast line. You got guys that can shoot. It's kind of like Zach Hyman. There's no guys like Zach Hyman last year to get the puck, other than Cappy can skate fast and get the puck. And you got two guys that can finish. Austin Matthews, an elite shooter, and William Nylander, a pretty damn good shooter. I'm not going to say he's not elite, but elite is elite, and you can't just throw that word around a lot. Now, not everyone has been a huge fan of William Nylander signing. If you've been following Brian Burke, the old GM for the Toronto Maple Leafs, he believes that the Leafs gave away the farm, quote unquote, gave away the farm with the Nylander deal. He thinks that if they're going to throw this much money at him, they should have signed him in August and had him not miss training camp. I think that's kind of a bad take. I don't think they threw a lot of money at him. He asked for 8, or it's reported that he asked for 8. I don't know if we'll ever know what he actually asked for. He is the first of the big 3 of the Toronto Maple Leafs, of Austin Matthews, Marner, and of course himself, Nylander, to sign. So his deal was going to be a bit tougher. It's reported that Matthews has kind of got a deal agreed in words, and they were kind of waiting for Nylander to sign. I think right before or right after Christmas, if they can sign Matthews to his extension, would be a great time to do it. Just get it out of the books, out of the way. And then over the summer, you can just worry about Mitch Marner, who is one of the best players in the NHL right now. And we personally here on SportsBreak haven't talked about him enough. He has been talked about, I'll be honest, a lot on other sports shows, especially in Toronto. I just don't talk about him enough, and he's been playing really good. And so has John Tavares. Morgan Riley is out of this world. Just all these players that we haven't had a chance to talk about. We'll definitely talk about again more in the new year. More when I get this yawning problem out of the way. This is terrible. Might have to go in the IR for a couple days. And just lastly here on Nylander, Kyle Dubas had reportedly told him that he won't trade him as long as he's the Maple Leafs GM. That came right from Nylander's mouth, and then Dubas confirmed it later in an interview. That was kind of one thing that Nylander was very scared about, being the first to sign. And he signed still a pretty team-friendly deal. In a couple of years, it's going to look like David Pasternak's. Like, I can't believe he signed for that cheap. The Leafs got a really good deal here. And he's just worried that he's going to get traded because he wants to play in Toronto. And I don't blame him. I don't know how anyone blames him. They got a really good young team here. They look to be good for the next 5-6 years. Why would anyone want to leave that? They're an absolute wagon. Kind of why William Nylander, in the 6th year of the NHL contract that he just got, he would be a UFA if he only signed a 5-year deal. But in that 6th year, he has I believe it's a modified no trade list that he can't be traded to half the league's teams, I think. Not 100% sure. It hasn't fully been released on what that is, but it is a no trade thing. It's not a no move clause, but you wouldn't move him to the AHL. It's a no trade clause. But great for William Nylander. Great for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't care what Brian Burke says. I think this is a win-win. He kind of puts it as a lost win for William Nylander. William Nylander got his money. Sure, he missed some NHL games, but he got his money. And I'm going to leave it at that. William Nylander got paid for what he's going to do, though. So if you're William Nylander, the pressure's on the second you step on the ice, and you have to perform because every eye is going to be on him, whether it's a casual fan or a really diehard fan, or you're Steve Dangle, who is too diehard. Not too diehard, but he's up there. Everyone's going to be like, all right, Willie, show us why you're worth 6.9. And if he doesn't, I don't know what's going to happen in Toronto. Whether they win the cup or not, it's not going to be great. And people are going to got to lower their expectations of William Nylander. Can he score 20 goals? Probably not. He's only going to play 55 games, 60 games. He's already missed 26, so him to play 60 games wouldn't really work. I would say if he can score 10, 15 goals in the time he's missed, that might even be high. But you got to be kind of honest about this, and you got to kind of be rational, is the word I'm looking for here about William Nylander. But he's back. We can finally stop talking about it. There's no more contract talk. Oh, breathe out. And one last thing before we go to a break here from your sports break. Let me untie my tongue here. We talked about the World Juniors. The Maple Leafs are loaning 2 players to Sweden for the World Juniors. Those are Timothy Liljegren, the pick from Toronto's pick in last year's NHL entry draft, and Rasmus Sandin will be loaned to Sweden. That'll make for a pretty good, sweet Sweden team. They are the Leafs' most recent first-round picks, and they're both playing for the AHL affiliate Toronto Marlies. Liljegren has 8 points in 19 games this season, while Sandin has 4 goals and 3 assists in 12 contests. It's going to be a great team for Sweden. Last year, they won silver, and they lost to Canada. Canada 3-1 in the final, not a big deal. And this will be Sandin's first taste of the tournament last season, which kicks off on Boxing Day. Liljegren played last season. All right, great for the Leafs. Again, 19-8-0. We're going to talk about them more in the new year. They're going to be great. Wagon. It'll be heading into the trade deadline. Who do they acquire to bring in? Center depth, right wing, defense. Defense like everybody wants. Who knows what they're going to bring in? But we're going to take a quick break here from your sports break, and we'll be right back. We are back here, ladies and gentlemen, for your sports break broadcast on 92.7 C Triple FM here at the wonderful facilities at Trent Radio. Oh, maybe I should pause the music that I was playing before. Again, that was Brett Kissel and a live version of Cecilia. Great song. I didn't realize till I played it. I forgot about the song we played last week on my country music talk called Bring Hockey Back. That'll definitely make an appearance in the new year. Kind of more sports related. Am I right? Brett Kissel's great guy. Absolute beauty. I don't know where I was going with this. He's a great country artist. One of my favorite. But we are back here again on Trent Radio. This weather is still, let me hit refresh. Maybe the weather's changed completely. I mean, I can look out windows here, but that's not reliable, right? Actually looking outside in the weather. -7 now. We're getting warmer. Global warming. Don't ask Trump about it. -7. Still feeling like -13 with that wind chill. Bit of a wind, about 15 kilometers an hour, north-northwest wind, if that impacts your day at all. Those hunters out for the shotgun hunt, deer hunting, good luck. Hopefully you guys have a great week. That'll be my uncle out there in Perth County. Hope you guys have good luck. Kind of miss it. Haven't been out in a while. Got a deer in my first year. Not a big deal. Beginner's luck. I didn't get anything else after that, but it is like it is. While we were on break here, we got a quick little notification on the cellular device regarding Bryce Harper. Now, if you don't follow baseball and you live under a rock, whatever, people like that, living like under a rock and not following baseball. I should say sports fan. If you don't care about sports, I don't blame you at all. I wouldn't either. If I was being completely honest, why trap yourself into this where you just feel obligated to research everything under sports and just know everything about sports? Sounds fun, right? Exactly. If it was up to me, Avengers movies sound pretty good to get invested into, but that's up to you. Anyways, Bryce Harper, they're calling it Harper's Bazaar, which I think is amazing, has officially began. Multiple teams have already traveled or plan to travel to Las Vegas, the home of Bryce Harper, to kind of woo him to come to their team. So far, it's been the Los Angeles Dodgers, back-to-back World Series finalists, can't win. Chicago White Sox, Philadelphia Phillies, and the New York Rangers have already met with Harper with the I saw Chicago and thought Blackhawks. The Chicago Cubs and the San Diego Padres to follow at a later date. And it says here that there's many teams to come that haven't been named yet. So who knows? Maybe the Toronto Blue Jays will offer him a deal like, hey, we got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette coming. If I'm the Blue Jays, I would stay away. I'm going to be completely honest. Don't really need them. Their winning isn't now. It's in a couple of years, but that's the thing. We will talk about more about the Blue Jays. I got to make this clear. The Blue Jays will be a winter time, January discussion. Not a lot going on right now. And of course, why would there be? Hoping after Christmas, after the new year, there's more. Bryce Harper and Machado signed by then, maybe. It'll be interesting. For the Dodgers, the recruitment is being led by part owner Magic Johnson, who helped lure LeBron James to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Dodgers did plan to stay under the luxury tax. They plan to stay under the luxury tax for the next 4 seasons. Kind of hard if you're going to bring Bryce in and have Kershaw and all them. We'll see how it goes for the Dodgers. The White Sox have reportedly enlisted Hall of Famer Jim Thome as part of their sales pitch. He spent 4 seasons with the White Sox between 2006 and 2009. He had 134 of his 612 career home runs with Chicago. The Phillies have completed a trade, which we're going to get into more, with the Seattle Mariners, acquiring Gene Segura and 2 relievers. The move comes after Phillies ownership said it was prepared to be a little stupid about the team spending in the winter. I don't know how you don't take that as they want either Machado or Bryce Harper. And there's no saying that they can't get Machado now that they have shortstop Gene Segura. Put Segura second. I guess Cesar Hernandez is there. You can put Segura third or Cesar Hernandez third. You get Manny Machado. He's one of the best players in the game right now, whether you like him or not. You bring him in. The Nationals, of course, are expected to be involved. They drafted him, and they offered him a 10-year, $300 million contract. He didn't accept, but other teams reported in the mix are the Cardinals and the Astros. The Astros at the deadline, if you remember, we talked about it after the World Series, made a push to trade for Bryce Harper, which would have made them an extremely dominant team. Didn't end up happening. It's going to be an interesting winter. I'm going to be completely honest with Bryce Harper, Manny Machado, Patrick Corbin, who has made his way around the MLB trying to figure out where he wants to play. Great lefty. He's going to look good in whatever uniform he plays in. Kind of like Robinson Cano, I'm going to be completely honest. Looked great in pinstripes, as everybody does. I mean, I don't know what David Ortiz would look like in pinstripes. I'm going to be completely honest. He would look... I would probably throw up, as a lot of people would, especially Yankees fans would throw up looking at David Ortiz in a Yankees jersey. The pinstripes just on a red after... Yeah, no, we'll skip that. Cano also looked good in the Mariners jersey, and now he's going to look pretty sharp in a New York Mets jersey. If you've been following baseball the past couple of days, you would know that the Seattle Mariners and New York Mets had talked about a trade featuring Robinson Cano and closer Edwin Diaz for a long time, the past week or two almost, and it finally got done on Sunday. The final trade was, Robinson Cano, closer Edwin Diaz, and $20 million to the Mets for the Mariners receive outfielder Jay Bruce, reliever Anthony Swarzak, outfield prospect Jared Kelenic, and right-handed pitching prospects Justin Dunn and Gerson Bautista. Not Jose Bautista, Gerson Bautista. The $20 million going to the Mets reportedly won't be in a lump sum. The Mariners sent $5 million in 19, $3.7 in each of the following 4 seasons. It's just an off-balance Cano's huge contract that the Mariners signed him to. Of course, Cano missed 80 games last season due to a performance-enhancing drug suspension. We talked about it, whether it taints his career or not. He ended up posting a 300 batting average with 10 home runs, over 308 plate appearances. He is one of the best second basemen in the league, lefty bat. And of course, Edwin Diaz is finishing off winning the American League Reliever of the Year, the Mariano Rivera Trophy, who is available for the Hall of Fame this season. So if you're listening and you're a Hall of Fame voter, don't know why you're listening to SportsBreak, thanks for tuning in, and please vote for Mariano Rivera. He's one of the only guys that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot because, of course, he has this all-time save record. How do you not have the best closer in the league in the Hall of Fame on the first ballot? But the right-handed flamethrower Diaz led all of baseball in saves with 57 this season, and he had a 196 ERA over 73.5 innings. He's under control for the next 4 seasons, which is good if you're the New York Mets. You finally get a closer that you could maybe rely on. They had Yuris Familia, could hardly rely on him. He also had kind of legal troubles off of the field that I don't want to get into. Kind of made it tough for the Mets to build around. And I don't know how they can talk about trading away Noah Syndergaard like they have before. We've mentioned it on air here. They have a really good team now. They have a good team now. Cano makes them good on the right side. He is a bit older, though. You're investing a lot of time, money, and playing time into a guy who is a lot older than half the team. You're trading. You got Edwin Diaz, who it was released has bone spurs in his elbow. Nothing has caused a problem yet. And that phrase of "yet" in a guy who throws 100 in his elbow, no problems yet, scares the living crap out of me. And I'm not even a Mets fan. I'm not a Mets GM, player, anybody. If you have a guy who throws 100 and he's openly telling you, yeah, I got some problems in my elbow. It hasn't hurt me yet though. I would be scared crapless. I censored that real quick. I would just be completely scared, to be completely honest with you. It doesn't bode well for the Mets because it's a ticking time bomb. I'm going to be completely honest. But the Mariners, it was almost a cash dump. Get rid of Cano's contract. With Jay Bruce, they get an older outfielder. He's a 3-time All-Star. He's got 2 years left on his deal, a couple relievers, and the prospects are kind of what the Mariners need. They had one of the worst farm systems in the league. Now, with the Mariners and the Phillies trade, we talked about earlier, the Phillies traded away Carlos Santana and shortstop J.P. Crawford to the Mariners. This was on Monday for Gene Segura, right-handed reliever Juan Nicasio, and lefty James Pazos. Segura is young. This is kind of his 6th team. I believe it's his 6th team. Started with the Angels, Brewers, Diamondbacks, Mariners. Yeah, now the Phillies. Phillies are trying to win now. Mariners, again, kind of rebuilding. And I don't know what else to say. Segura is a good shortstop. He's going to play good there, I feel like. And earlier in the week, the Mariners traded relief pitcher Alex Colomé to the Chicago White Sox, not White Hawks. I'm really trying to get the Chicago Blackhawks out of my head. The rest of the league should do that too. They're kind of trash now. For catcher Omar Narvaez, Colomé has done really well. He did really well in Tampa, and he's done really well so far with the Mariners as a closer, as a setup man for the closer, but it looks like he will be the closer for the White Sox. In the end, I think the Mariners, they have one of the longest playoff droughts in the 4 professional sports of North America. And I don't know how they're gonna continue the streak. Obviously, they're gonna suck this year. They traded away James Paxton, Robbie Cano, Segura, and I can obviously wait. I'm just waiting now for Nelson Cruz to go, Mitch Haniger. They've still got Corey Seager. Kyle Seager is his name. He's more than Corey's brother. Just got to rebuild it all and just start from the top. And for a team and for fan base that hasn't seen a lot of winning, that would be pretty tough. And I'm very glad that the Blue Jays are a bit better than that so far. And speaking of the Blue Jays, former Blue Jay Josh Donaldson signed a 1-year, $23 million contract with the Atlanta Braves. He's returning back to general manager Alex Anthopoulos, and he's kind of betting on himself. He's like, you know what, I'll take $23 million. I think it's a lot for Josh Donaldson, going to be completely honest. But it's a chance for him to say, I'm a good player, and I'm going to show you why. And maybe after that, he'll get a nice 2-3 year deal and make some more money before his career's over. Because he is a late bloomer, and he was really good at the Blue Jays, of course, 2015 MVP, and injuries have kind of hurt him the past couple seasons. But for a young team like Atlanta, who performed really well last year, of course, lost in the playoffs, it gives them a chance to add a MVP veteran bat to the middle of their lineup, with a lineup already of Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna Jr., Ozzie Albies. They had Nick Markakis last season. They got to add in another bat probably in the outfield. And it's just going to look good for the Braves. You know, they get that veteran voice in the clubhouse, which is always good because these young guys, this is their year for a sophomore slump. It happens a lot more than you think. We saw it we see it in other sports. Mitch Marner last year, and we see it in baseball a lot. Bryce Harper's second year in the league wasn't that great either. And it's going to be interesting. The Braves are definitely a team of the future. It's kind of like returning back to Greg Maddux. And we have run out of time here. I've talked a lot. I'm just trying to think what's the last thing we can talk about here. The Cubs tendered a contract to suspended player Addison Russell ahead of Friday's deadline, keeping the 24-year-old shortstop on the roster. He was suspended 40 games under MLB's domestic violence policy in October, and he's eligible to return to Major League play in May. I don't know if the Cubs are actually going to get him to play again. It's a very tough situation that the league doesn't want to get into. The Blue Jays, of course, traded away Roberto Osuna for the same kind of situation because the Rogers just didn't want to get into it, which I can totally understand because it's a very tough thing to have around your team. But that is all the time we have today for your Sports Break, broadcasted on 92.7 CFFM through the facilities here at Trent Radio in the beautiful Peterborough, Canada. If you've missed previous shows, you can catch up on Twitter at SportsBreakTR. We won't be back next Tuesday, I'm afraid. We'll be back January 8th is the Tuesday at 9 a.m. Again, we got that time, I believe, for another show where we will talk about the NHL season, the Toronto Maple Leafs, how they're doing so far, how the rest of the NHL is doing, how it looks towards the push of the NHL playoffs. We'll talk about the MLB offseason. Where is Bryce Harper playing, Manny Machado, everybody. What are the Blue Jays doing, or how are they going to look next season? We'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, especially during the Christmas holidays, check both your smoke and carbon monoxide alarms. Not the time to have something like that go off or not go off and something worse happen. Enjoy your Christmas holidays. Merry Christmas, ho, ho, ho. Happy holidays, and have a great day.